Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Crispy, otherwise known as Bystander X79. It's Thursday, and I'm doing a throwback to a deck profile that I did last format, PSY-Frames. Alright. Now, if you haven't played PSY-Frames before, PSY-Frames are a deck that is built out of hand traps. Their key hand traps will be the PSY-Framegears. Using those, you're able to special summon them out to respond to anything your opponent does, and usually it brings along another monster with it. Typically it's going to be a level 6. Also, if you happen to have the PSY-Frame field spell up on the field, when you bring those cards out, you're able to synchro summon even during your opponent's turn, which was one of the things that I love so much about this deck. Alright, so I am just going to go right into this profile, of course, like I always do. We do monsters first, and the first is a pair of PSY-Frame drivers. Now this guy is your level 6 light attribute second type monster, 2500 attack, 0 defense. Initially, he was the only level 6 you were bringing out with the PSY-Framegears. Nowadays, there is another level 6, which I'll be displaying next. After him, I find running 2 copies of him is actually very good. There will be times when you might not have the PSY-Frame field spell up on the field, so during the end phase, your PSY-Frame Gear's effects will then banish itself and the other card that will special summon by its effect. Because of that potential, that's why I run 2 copies of this card. Alright, next is the other level 6 I mentioned, and this one happens to be an effect monster, is PSY-Framegear Multi-Threader. Interestingly enough, this level 6 is also a hand trap. Basically, well, if it's in your hand, and any of your PSY-Framegear card, or any of your PSY-Frame cards would be destroyed by an effect, you can discard this card from your hand, and any of your face-up PSY-Frame cards are then protected. They won't be destroyed. It counts as a PSY-Frame driver while it's in your hand in your graveyard, so you can special summon it using PSY-Framegear Alpha. And in case one of your PSY-Framegears monsters are brought out by a different effect, and multi-threaders in your graveyard, you can special summon it as well, which can open up more synchro plays if you have the field spell up. Alright. Now, those are your 5 level 6s. The synchros are level 7 and level 8, so the tuners will be level 1 or level 2. So we're going to do the level 1s first. PSY-Framegear Alpha is the first level 1. Now, PSY-Framegear Alpha is the PSY-Framegear that responds to your opponent's summons. Downside is that it doesn't negate the summon, it just responds. So it's almost like saying, oh, you summon a monster, oh, I'm going to summon a monster as well. Good news is that it does have a search effect, so you're allowed to search out another PSY-Frame card from your deck to your hand, which is a pretty awesome trade-off, if you ask me. Okay, the other level 1 is PSY-Framegear Beta. Now, Beta is the PSY-Framegear that responds when your opponent attacks you directly. Typically, with PSY-Frame deck, you're not going to have that many monsters on the field at once. In fact, you don't want any monsters on your field during your opponent's turn so you can respond. This guy, when your opponent attacks directly, you can activate this guy, summon it with one of the level 6s, and then what it'll do, it will pop the attacking monster and end your opponent's battle phase, which is actually a very good effect. Shut down your opponent's battle phase. Okay, now to the level 2s. We first start off with PSY-Framegear Delta. Basically, this PSY-Framegear Delta basically responds to whenever your opponent activates a spell card. Pardon me. Negate the spell, summon out your monsters, have the field spell up, synchro summon. You get the idea. And last but not least, we have another level 2, PSY-Framegear Gamma. Okay, PSY-Framegear Gamma responds to your opponent's monster's effect, so whenever they activate a monster effect, you can activate this card, bring them out with the level 6, and it'll negate and destroy the monster. Negate the monster's effect and destroy that monster as well. So, a very good card. Now, the thing about it is that since PSY-Framegears are pretty much interact with your opponent, you're going to want to turn around and make sure other cards don't restrict that much. So, other hand traps like Drone Lockbird wouldn't be that good, but because of that, we can actually run 3 copies of Ash Blossom Joyous Spring. Now, Ash Blossom is a hard once per turn, which doesn't fully restrict your opponent that much, so you could actually keep interacting as long as you have the PSY-Framegears in your hand. Ash Blossom is a great trap card. Blocks searching, ending cards from decks to the hand, and sending deck cards from deck to the graveyard, or even special summon monsters from the deck. You only can do it once per turn, but still, blocks that interaction and allows you to turn around, shut down some of what your opponent does, and at least allows you to give you a chance to respond with other things that you have in your deck. And the last hand trap I run is I run 2 copies of Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. Again, with the fact that you need open fields to respond with your PSY-Framegears, this card is perfect for the deck. Whenever your opponent has more monsters than you, and if you have an open field, that means as soon as they drop one monster, you can drop her into the graveyard, flash a card from your extra deck, and then your opponent is forced to banish all the cards that you flashed. It rips your opponent's extra deck so they can't apart, so they can't really extend into it, and it just takes plays away from them. Alright, so that is it for my monsters. Side note, with the PSY-Framegears, they bring out PSY-Frame Driver from the hand, deck, or graveyard, so that's another reason why we only run 2 copies of it. Going on to the spells. 1 Copper Monster Reborn, because it's Monster Reborn. Let's face it, this is a staple. This is now a staple spell since it came off the ban list. Bring back one of your PSY-Framegears from the graveyard. If you have Multi-Threader in there, it comes along with it. You have the field spell up, Synchro Summon. So it could be a single card Synchro Summon if things are set up right. 3 copies of Pot of Duality. Now you're probably thinking, well, this deck tends to special summon. Yeah, but you don't special summon during your turn. It's mostly during your opponent's turn. So digging into your deck 3 cards to pick the right card for either your current situation or potentially your next turn for your next opponent's turn would be a good thing. Okay, of course I've mentioned this card multiple times so far, and that is PSY-Framegear Circuit, which is the PSY-Frames field spell. This is what allows you to Synchro Summon during your opponent's turn. After you summon out your PSY-Framegear and your PSY-Frame Driver or Multi-Threader, this card's effect immediately resolves. Synchro summons out a level 6, a level 7 or a level 8 Synchro monster during your opponent's turn. It's insane what this card can do, which is why this card is so important to the deck. It also can boost up your other PSY-Frame monsters' attack by discarding PSY-Frame monsters from your hand. Just keep that in mind. A lot of people miss out on that last effect. Alright. Now, I mentioned that if you don't have the field spell up and you summon your PSY-Framegears out, they're going to be banished by their effects, so that's why we run 3 copies of Second Field Zone. Brings those cards. What it does is it allows you to target 2 second monsters in your banish zone, put them back in your graveyard, and then you get allowed to bring out a Synchro monster in defense mode that equals the combined levels of the 2 monsters you just returned. Great piece of tech to use in this deck. Allows you to get your Synchro monsters onto the field, even if you don't have the field spell ready for you. Alright. And the last spell I run 2 copies of Telekinetic Powerwell. Basically, this allows you to special summon any number of low-level Psychic type monsters from your graveyard. Typically, it's going to be your level 2s or level 1s. You bring them back onto the field. And again, if you have multi-threader in your graveyard, they're coming out with the field spell with them. The field spell up, you're synchro summoning with them as well. So there is a cost to pay when bringing back monsters. I think you have to pay 100 life points times the monster's level, which is really negligible since it's either level 1 or level 2. So it's either 100 or 200. I mean, bring back multiple monsters, it's going to be their combined levels, but still. It sets up great plays. As long as you have the field spell up, you're good. It's a quick play spell, which means you can do it during your opponent's turn, which is even more maddening. And that's just an annoyance level of the deck overall. Alright, I do want some back row in here, and the back row in here is typically just to turn on help support some of the other monsters. Specifically here, 2 copies of Drowning Mirror Force, which helps support PSY-Framegear Beta. Basically, since you're going to be having a lot of empty boards a lot of times, you're going to need to defend yourself. Without Beta, this is your other card you go to. Whenever your opponent directs attack, when you have an empty board, this thing takes all your opponent's attack position monsters, sends them back to the deck. Depending on what deck you're facing, it can really hurt, especially sending back your opponent back multiple turns, then not just one. Alright. Next card I run 2 copies of PSY-Frame Overload. Now this is the continuous spell that a lot of players still fear for this deck. Basically, you can banish PSY-Frame monsters from your hand or on the field, target one of your opponent's cards, and then banish that card face down. Banishing face down is something that a lot of decks fear because you really don't have a lot of ways to recuperate from that unless you're running PSY-Framelord Omega. Alright, and even if this card leaves the field while it's in the graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, you can actually banish it and search your deck for another PSY-Frame card. So it does have some serious utility. And last but not least, I want 2 copies of Strike. Again, this card backs up PSY-Framegear Gamma because you're not going to always have Gamma in the hand to block monster effects. This will help you do it for you, and it also negates inherit summons like Link summoning, Pendulum summoning, Synchro summoning, Exceed summoning. Overall, great counter trap for the deck. Alright, now that's the main deck right there. We're going to go right into our extra deck. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the 6 monsters you should be running. Or actually, this not really 6 monsters. It's really the 6 cards you should be running. It's 3 monsters, actually. I run 2 copies of Black Rose Dragon. Now, Black Rose Dragon is a level 7 synchro monster. Whenever it's synchro summoned, it can blow the entire field up, and that's where the whole synchro summon during your opponent's turn really pays off. Wait till your opponent summons that last monster, respond with Alpha, bring out PSY-Framegear or multi-threader, go into this card, blow the field. I mean, it's great. I mean, if you have multi-threader in your hand, you can discard it, protect your field spell from being destroyed. I can tell you right now, you do it once, you're going to have control over the duel. You do it twice, you're going to pretty much win the duel. Alright, next card. PSY-Framelord is 2 copies of PSY-Framelord Zeta. This is the level 7 PSY-Framelord synchro monster. It's actually a very cool card because it plays keep away with your opponent's face-up cards that are on the field, specifically the monsters. So what it does is that it targets one of your opponent's special summon monsters, and then it allows you to basically banish it and itself until your next standby phase, and then those cards are then brought back. So it keeps powerful monsters off the field. It can keep Link monsters off the field since the monsters you have to target have to be in attack mode. And this thing can even recycle stuff out of your graveyard back into your deck. All around awesome card. Alright. And then we have PSY-Framelord Omega. Now, Omega is the level 8 synchro. Again, similar to Zeta, it plays keep away, but with cards out of your opponent's hand, which can be extremely maddening, especially if it's just early in the game. and you just keep doing it over and over and over again throughout the course of the duel. This is your big attack point. So typically what you're going to do is if you have Zeta and this, you can actually clear the field of a problematic boss monster and poke with this card for the 2800 attack. It can return banished cards from your banish zone to your graveyard. And it doesn't really matter if they're face up or face down. And it can also recycle things from your graveyard back into your hand, back into your deck. Very good utility for this card. Now, those are the only synchros that I really find useful in bringing out. Cool thing, one thing I want to turn around and mention about Zeta and Omega is that with Master Rule 4, yes, we have the extra monster zone. So when they're initially summoned, they go to that zone. However, because they bounce themselves off the field, they're not going back. They won't go back to the extra monster zone. Instead, they go back to the main monster zone, which helps free up the extra monster zone. So you can actually summon more copies of this card. And since they're constantly bouncing on and off the field, you're going to have empty fields, which will allow you to use your PSY-Framegear monsters. I mean, that's why they're so amazing. This deck is extremely great. It's one of the better synchro decks you can actually run with Master Rule 4, even without Needle Fiber, since we don't know when we're going to get it. Alright. Moving on to other stuff. Now, the rest of the extra deck I've actually dedicated to Ghost Reaper. Just ripping things apart. Alright, and I have 3 fusion monsters I like to target. I mean, there could be other ones you could add in, but these are the 3 that I like to target right now. Literallusk, Independent Nightingale, ABC Buster Dragon, and Supreme King Dragon, Starving Venom. Now, both the Literallusk and the Supreme King Fusion, they're involved with the OTK, I mean, with the Pendulum Magician OTK. Basically what you do is you bring out this card with Instant Fusion, and then you use, I think, one of the Supreme King Gate cards effects to bring out this one. Now, this one will only burn your opponent for 500, but the thing about it is that when Starving Venom here is brought out, it can copy one of the cards on the field's effects. You can actually copy Literallusk's effects, which means it's going to be able to burn your opponent for 500 times its level, which is going to be 4,000. It increases its attack power by, I think, the same amount, which pushes up to 68, and it also has piercing damage. Bringing out 2 copies of this is what really turns around and helps with the OTK. But with the piercing damage effect, it's also good. I mean, so this is the reason why I include both cards in the extra deck. One to break up the OTK, and the other one to actually shut down a pretty powerful monster in its own right. And ABC Dragons losing Buster Dragon is something that hurts that deck very, very well. So, all right, that's it for the fusions. I only have one other synchro in there. Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. You target this, your opponent can't bring it out to negate effects. And though I think the Wind Witch engine brings this out with the ability to be immune to, I think, spell cards or something like that. It could be very problematic when brought out like that. So that's the reason why it's in the extra deck. If you need another synchro monster you could target, PSY-Framelord Omega is one, which is primary reason is it's generic and it does what it does. All right. I run 2 copies of Xyz monsters here. I run number 39 to break up the Utopia package for rank 4 decks, and I run number 41 Babushka, basically because it can stall. Alright, this way you don't have to worry about that. Alright, and last but not least, I do have 3 Link monsters. Heavy Metal Foes, Electromite. This hurts any Pendulum deck. Borlo Dragon and Saruja Skull Dragon. Borload and Saruja are the big Link 4s right now. That's why I have them in the extra deck, so you can target them and get rid of them out of your opponent's extra deck. Heavy Metal Foes, anything that runs Pendulums, it just hurts that deck completely. Alright, now there are other cards if you want to include. I know Odd Eyes Vortex Dragons for Fusion Monsters. The Supreme King, I think, version of Clear Wing or Crystal Wing or whatever it is, that you can include that in there. Another Link monster might be overclock, the overclock, or overclock or underclock. Yeah, Link 2 monster, that's been popping up a lot. It's a very strong Link 2. It's one of the best Link 2s out there right now. So there's a lot of different options for you to do. I'm just giving you some suggestions about what I do and reasons for that matter. Okay. With that being said, that is the deck profile for my PSY-Frame deck for the current February 2018 format. Now I know this is a throwback deck to a profile I did in the previous format. I got a little side note to say about this. This is going to be my last throwback deck profile until the new format goes into effect. Don't worry, guys. I still got some other stuff planned out for you guys. We're getting some new products within the next few weeks. Lair of Darkness. The next core booster set, Funds of Destruction. Might even throw in a mystery box there every now and then. So, be on the lookout for that for those videos. I still have some more deck profiles that I'm wanting to turn around and do for you guys. I'm very excited about them. So, until then, peace out, everybody.